It's been a long day at Hockenheim, but for the GT4 European Series teams, their first race is about to get underway. It's a monster grid that stretches almost all the way back to Heidelberg, and still they're coming through to take up their places on the 2x2 grid ready for the rolling start and the first of our 1 hour races, with pole position going the way of Henrik Still after he put the Porsche Cayman fastest at the end of the short, sharp 20-minute qualifying session earlier on in the day. It's a great mix of car, as ever. The championship has been very competitive all season, and these races always something of a lottery because the predictions tend to go out of the window. So evenly matched are the cars under the balanced performance, but also with such a big grid, keeping out of trouble is always part and parcel of the racing as well. Now, before we get racing underway, let us head to the grid. David Addison in the booth, Gemma Scott down on the grid itself, and she's got Porsche driver Nathan Sharp ready to have a word before we go racing.
Nathan, a great start this weekend. Cars on second on the grid, and that's a silver class pole for you guys. What are we expecting into the first corner here with this huge stream of cars behind you?
Well, we're starting on the left side for the start, and it's a right corner, of course, so it'll be difficult for us. But yeah, I think the aim for us is to get through corner 1 safely and then continue in the race to try and get a win later on.
Absolutely, and obviously maintain that position for you when you jump in for your stint.
Yeah, definitely. And if we're not in P1 by then we'll try our best to be P1 in the end.
Well, hopefully we'll see you in an hour's time on the podium. Have a great race.
That sounds good, thank you.
Yeah, Nathan Sharp driving for the Allied Racing team with Alexander Hartwig in one of the very rapid Porsche Caymans, the 718 iteration. Very attractive cars, the Caymans, and there are lots of them run by different teams. And so as the drivers get set with the pit window being between 25 and 35 minutes and 3 classes to look for, not only the silvers but also Pro-Am and Am battles to enjoy as well. Is going to be a lot going on, that is for sure. That's the pole position car. Henrik Still will do the first stint. Experienced driver, and he has celebrated his first pole position. The second stint will be done by Max Kronberg, and he's with Gemma.
Max, you guys have got reason to smile. Your first pole after a year and a half racing in GT4, that's got to feel really good.
Yeah, definitely. So, like a few times, like Henrik has been really close to the pole, and today he had a really great lap. Like I think, like everything was perfect. So he did a fantastic job, and really happy to be here on P1 for the first time, and hope we can make the best out of it for the race. Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, realistically, do you think you can hold that pace throughout the next hour?
Yeah, I think it's going to be quite tough because I think after us there's like 9 or 10 silver cars, so I'm the IM driver, so I think it's going to be for sure a tough job, but yeah, I will try to give my best and see how the speed is and how we can progress. Yeah.
Absolutely, you'll have a great race. Thanks a lot.
Yeah. Okay, thank you so much.
Max Kronberg getting faster and faster all the time as experience grows. 77 there, Josh Rattigan sharing the Elite Motorsport McLaren with Tom Empson. Josh Rattigan third on the grid. Like quite a number of the British drivers that we've seen in GT4 over the last few seasons. He's come out of the Ginetta Junior Championship, the ultimate school of hard knocks. And Tom Leben, who's making his GT4 European Series debut this weekend, he is another graduate of that series with great success as well. Single-seater racer more recently, but the McLaren's certainly one of them. The Josh Rattigan entry up at the pointy end. Victor Weyrich, who's been a race winner this year, starting 4th in the Racing Spirit of Le Mans Aston Martin. And the grid now starting to be cleared of some of the personnel. In terms of overall wins, Benjamin Lariche and Robert Consonnet have had 1. The Silver Championship leaders, Michael Schrei and Gabriele Piana, have had 2. Victor Weyrich won 1 with Constantin Lachenau, but he's now got a different co-driver. Antoine Potier and Etienne Shelley have had 2 wins. Becky Besler, Tom Edgar, 1, and the other victory to Benjamin Lessen and Ricardo van der Ende, but they dipped in at Spa, 1, and went away again. So it's a shame we haven't seen them since, but they might be tempted back for the 6 Hours of Rome, the GT4 only race in October. Right, let's go back to the grid because Gemma has been busy finding more drivers.
Tony, it's great to see more and more women in the championship, and here we are, car number 32, position number 13.
Yeah, it's been a really great weekend. I was fortunate enough to be able to bring an American driver with me that I drove with in 21 in GT3, and he's been killing it. So we're really excited for the first race for him and continuing with me, and happy to be here at Germany.
Well, great to see you over in Europe as well. How does that compare to the States?
It's a lot more competitive, definitely. The times are a lot closer, the competition's a lot closer, and the level of competition is a lot more aggressive, so it's definitely been like a jumping point, but I'm getting used to it, I'm getting there.
Absolutely. Well, enjoy the race today, and hopefully we'll see you again a little bit later on. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, Dakota Dickerson is the driver in question that's been brought from America as the second driver and starts this race. Dakota strapped into the Porsche Cayman. And there towards the back of the grid, you'll notice the Audi 83, which Julian Rodriguez lost his best lap time very early in the session for speeding in the pit lane as he joined in. And then he lost his second best for causing a red flag, so it all went from bad to worse. Number 5 there is the Aston Martin of Jamie Day and Ruben Del Sart. Yes, both Ginetta Junior Championship runners in years past. Jamie Day from British GT as well. And on their outside, the Porsche of Ivan Ekelchik and Nikolai Muller-Madsen. Just looking down onto that grid, I think everybody is present and correct, ready for the rolling start. Julien Piguet in the Porsche that he shares with Alban Baruti. Now, on occasions, Alban has driven on his own. On occasions, he's driven with Julien. And it is Alban Baruti who's a very easy leader in the AM Cup. You get a point for pole as well, and it goes to each of the 2 drivers rather than just the one that sets the time. That is Ivan Ekelchik's Porsche. That's going to be from 6th on the grid, the SRS Team Schorg Rennsport entry. And very rapid former silver champion, or previous silver champion, I should say, Nikolai Muller-Madsen will take over that car. So there's a lot to look forward to, as ever, in GT4. So drivers then being sort of left to their own devices. The last engineers stay just to fire up the engine at the 1-minute mark, and then we'll be in business. Looking inside the cars, and the 1-hour race set as ever to be very spectacular indeed. Such a big grid, there's always lots going on. Number 110, one of the little Alpines, this car from the Autosport GP LS Group Performance stable. Paul Caupe starts and Simon Thurman will take it over. The Alpines sometimes you sort of think are a bit breathless because they look small compared to some of the other cars, but actually under the BOP they're very competitive indeed, and in the right hands can score very good results. Cast your mind back to the international invitation races that we had in Bahrain at the Nations Cup a few years ago, and they were the cars to beat. That silver and blue BMW just on the outside mid-grid is the one that leads the championship in silver. Michael Schrei starts, comes from a good racing family. His father Michael Schrei Wolfgang Schrei, very successful years ago in Porsche racing in the Porsche Ferrari Challenge, both under his real name and a pseudonym under which he raced for a time. And Michael Schrei from German GT4 to the GT4 European Series, very competitive indeed. Gabriele Piana, second driver in that car, even faster. The BMWs struggled in qualifying, but there has been a change to the BOP since the qualifying session. So wait to see if they've got better pace. Kenny Herreman's here, 8th on the grid in the car that's fastest in the hands of his co-driver Dante Rapponge for race 2. In other words, that's got pace as well. So a lot can shake out of this. Benjamin Lariche, who was unlucky not to be able to go for pole because he had a Porsche spin across his bows in the stadium. 1 minute to go then, engines fire. 1 minute board shown, and in a moment or two the cars then will chase the lead car, catch up, and then get themselves ready for the rolling start. Front row of the grid then, it is Hendrik Still and Alexander Hartwig alongside. Second row, Josh Rattigan in the yellow McLaren, Victor Weyrich alongside, and then it's Jamie Day, another of the British drivers, with Ivan Ekelchik for company in the yellow and white Porsche. In terms of the championship, Alban Baruti, as I mentioned, leads in AM. In Pro-Am, Greg Gilbert and Christophe Amon are pretty comfortable leaders, although it did take quite a long time, actually, for Greg Gilbert to be able to do a proper lap in qualifying this morning. So that car's, relatively speaking, a long way down the grid. In silver, it is Piana and Schrei, 25 points ahead of Berke Besler and Tom Edgar. And third, Benjamin Lariche and Robert Consonny, the better qualifiers out of that leading 3. The BMWs of both teams, whether it was the Bonk Motorsport or the Borusan Automotive Motorsport team, struggling in qualifying this morning. Green flag shown then, that means the cars can be released. great noise that GT cars make, whether it's GT3 or GT4, and they will get themselves in the Noah's Ark formation for the rolling start, with Hendrik Still on pole position, Alexander Hartwig alongside him, then Josh Rattigan and Victor Weyrish ahead of Jamie Day and Ivan Ekelchik, fourth row Paul Cowpay and Kenny Heremans ahead of Benjamin Lariche, and then Ricardo Dort starting 10th. 11th is Marc de Fulgencio alongside Julien Piguet, then newcomer Dakota Dickerson and Paul Petit for company ahead of Anthony Beltoise and Antoine Potti. Then it's Julien Brichet and Stefan Bostangif from Laurent Hergon and Denis Bulatov, former GT3 racer. Andreas Bachmann, Michael Schreier, 22nd, one to watch ahead of Stanislav Savronov, and then Tom Levin making his debut ahead of Oscar Christensen and Bailey Voisin, former silver champion. Philippe Barber is next with Akil Rabindra alongside Alexandra Papadopoulos, has Greg Gilbert for company ahead of Sandro Parasuti and Ivan Jacoma. Then it is former Clio racer Kevin Jimenez and Charles Dawson lines up alongside ahead of Lawrence Stegman and Berke Besler. Sacha Botterman had a spin in qualifying. He's alongside Vasily Vladikin. Then it is Enzo Juliet a long way back alongside Jean-Mathieu Leandri. Then Antoine Leclerc lost lots of lap times for track limit abuses. Davide Maloney is alongside him. Julian Rodriguez lost his 2 best laps, and Tenno Neumann rounds out the grid. 44 of them ready to go into battle. So this is the view from the Borusan Automotive BMW of Berke Besler, the Turkish driver for the Turkish team. And Berke, Tom Edgar, his co-driver, won last time out at Misano in what was a very impressive drive. Tom Edgar brought the car home to take the win and had to fend off Gabriele Piana for all of his stint, and it was just a mighty effort as he brought the car through for honours in that second race. There is the BMW in its familiar bright blue colours. Borusan Automotive have been stalwarts within the championship for a number of seasons now, and it was great to see that team take a maiden victory at Misano. The Chevrolet goes through shot, the V8 racing entry, and having talked about silver winners in Pro-Am, Greg Gilbert and Christophe Amont, very much the drivers to beat. They've now had 5 wins out of the 8 races. 2 wins have gone the way of Antoine Leclerc and Loic Villiger, who's had to stand down because of a driver categorisation situation, with the other win going the way of Lawrence Stegman and Marcus Lundstrass. And then Alban Baruti has been beaten only twice, so he's had 6 wins, some of which 3 have been with Julien Piguet. A win each for Ivan Jacoma and Niki Leutwiler. They had a win at Spa, and Davide Meloni and Max Tresoldi won at Misano. So 2 of the 3 classes in Italy being won by BMWs. So it's almost time to go racing then as the cars stream through the stadium. So an all Porsche front row. The Caymans then ahead of McLaren and Aston Martin on the second row, Aston Martin and Porsche on the third row, and then Alpine and Chevrolet on the fourth, illustrating the variety within the GT4 European Series. The championship will finish at Barcelona, so only 1 event to go after this, but then they will be at the end of October for the GT4 cars. Their headline race, standalone race, the 6 Hours of Rome. For many, many years, that race has been a tradition at Vallelunga, and this year it's going to be for the GT4 team. So a huge amount of work going into bringing a good grid of cars from this championship, the French and the German championships, and British and wherever, to go into a proper GT4 endurance race. But this is going to be 1 hour of action, 1 hour of drama, and that 1 hour gets underway. Lights go green. Great start by Hendrik Still. Good start by Jamie Day, look in the Aston, who tries to get up the inside of the McLaren on the way towards turn 1, gets his nose chopped off, so Josh Rattigan goes through on the inside ahead of Alexander Hartwig. 4th is Day, down to 5th slips Victor Weyrish as they run up now towards turn 2. And Josh Rattigan in the Elite Motorsport McLaren has a tentative look to the inside line, can't find a way through there, so Hendrik Still it is who leads the way as we've got them 3-4 abreast in the really courageous mid-pack out of turn 2 and turn 3. Little kink takes them through 4 and then up towards the Parabolica. Speed building all the time here. Off the road goes 43 by the look of it. The Porsche of Sacha Botterman gets back onto the road, and Hendrik Still is building that gap as Hartwig comes up in the blue Porsche to have a go at Josh Rattigan on the outside line. Jamie Day tries to go around the outside of Victor Weyrish. Ivan Ekelchik in the white and blue Porsche gets run out wide as well. And still they stream. Look at the top of the shots. It's always a bad sign when you see one facing the wrong way, and amazingly enough they've all got through safely. They didn't in GT3, but they have in GT4. Off the road and back on again. Benjamin Lariche in the Audi up the inside of Eccleschick there. The red and blue and yellow Audi alongside the white and yellow Porsche. And Benjamin Lariche tries to force the issue, but he's on the outside line coming out of turn 8 and he can't do it. Down to the stadium for the first time. Hendrick still, it is, in the lead of the race and doing a very good job indeed. A little bit crossed up on the outside line there. Another of the Caymans, which survives the experience but loses momentum as they come into the stadium for the first time. That was Ricardo Dort, who'd qualified well but loses time. Gabriele Piana around on the outside line in number 2 BMW as they now sprint their way up towards the timing line. So here they come. And it is going to be at the end of lap 1. Hendrick still in the lead as look at this huge traffic jam of cars pouring into turn 17. Berke Besler on his toes trying to gain track position. Still lead Ratigan. 1.6 seconds the margin, 1 lap in the book. Hartvig is 3rd, Jamie Day 4th, 5th is Victor Weyrich, 6th is Paul Caupe, 7th is Heremans, 8th is Eccleschick, 9th is Lariche, 10th is Martin Fulgentia. And there you can see the lead gap as they turn into turn 2 then. So it is the lead car out of Pro-Am as well, then a silver, so Ratigan 2nd is the leading silver, but number 2 BMW is the one to watch to see what progress, if any, can be made here by Michael Schrei as he tries to get this car that he shares with Gabriele Piana up through the pack. So the silver championship leader, Michael Schrei in the Hofer Racing by Bonk Motorsport BMW comes up towards the hairpin at the Spitzkehrer. He knows the circuit well. He's done many a mile around here in assorted categories. And then number 42 Audi chasing in class in Pro-Am a little bit further back. Greg Gilbert, 25th he was at the end of lap 1, had made a bit of progress. Keeping out of trouble though on the first few laps, absolutely crucial to all of this. And so far, so good. Quite often it's been a bit leery in GT4. We had some great racing in Italy. We had some great racing at Spa. Great racing at Paul Ricard, great racing at Monza, so it's been a very strong season again, both numerically and in terms of the action for this championship. Long may it continue. Hendrick still up front, but was being caught a little bit by Josh Ratigan within the first sector at the start of that last lap. Ratigan in turn is taking Hartvig along for company, then Jamie Day in 4th place, and it's still very frantic indeed coming up towards the Sachs curve as there to the outside line, number 16, Philip Barber with his Mercedes. He's attacking, he's defending. Race leader has just gone by, very wide indeed there. Coming out of turn 16 ahead of Michael Schrei was the Mercedes. Dennis Bulatov at the wheel of it. Up over the timing line, that car now goes. The field streams through. And even on a long lap like this, because you're looking at around about 4.7 kilometres in length, this circuit, there's still an awful lot of traffic and very few gaps to make progress right now. So you've got to be brave, you've got to get out your elbows, and Bailey Voisin does just that in the white and blue Aston there, going up towards turn 2, moves himself up on the inside of Barber and also jumps ahead of Akhil Rabindra as well. So good pass that being made by Voisin. 2 spots gained coming up to the corner. To the Spitzkehrer. They turn, heading into the braking zone. And Hendrick still trying to build that lead, but battles rage on all the way up and down the order. Bit wide on exit there, look, going very wide. Whoops, and contact does come. Akhil Rabindra giving a hip and shoulder. He got it wrong coming into the corner, that put him on the wrong line and put him in more strife. And contact fires him down the order. That's all it takes when the pack is so close. One tiny little slip and it all goes against you. Bit of a twitch from Jamie Day's Aston Martin then, right on the limit as he comes down to the stadium. It's Porsche, McLaren, Porsche, Aston, Alpine, Chevrolet, Audi, the top 8. But Hendrick still trying to build a gap as he knows he needs to for his co-driver. Hendrick is the quicker of the two. He's been in GT4 cars of all descriptions for many, many years through its not so strong infancy as much as its very strong current period. Max Kronberg less experience, but Hendrick still goes through. And nearly 2 seconds to the good last time. Now finds himself 2.1 seconds clear of Josh Ratigan. In 3rd, it's Alexander Hartvig, and then 4th, 5th, 6th goes through in silver. Weyrich ahead of Caupe, ahead of Heremans, and Benjamin Lariche up into 8th place overall behind them. The Audi having gone ahead of Ivan Eccleschick's Porsche. Dennis Bulatov now in 16th place, has done the fastest lap as you look there at Kenny Heremans in the Chevrolet, run by the V8 racing team. Kenny Heremans going strongly in a car that's already proved its pace by dint of being on pole position for tomorrow's race. To the Spitzkehrer they come, and up front still, Hendrik Still maintains track position, tries to extend the advantage. He leads Pro-Am. Josh Rattigan, in a sense, doesn't really have to worry about him because he leads silver, and that's the main focus, getting points in the silver category, although, yes, they'd all like an overall race win. Second in Pro-Am is the American driver Dakota Dickerson. So it's Porsche's 1 and 2 in Pro-Am, and then the Audi of Paul Petit is third. And in AM at the moment, it is Laurent Hergon's Alpine that he shares with Alain Ferte, ahead of Julien Piquet sharing with championship leader Alban Baruti, and third, former Clio star Kevin Jimenez in the Aston that Florent Grisot dropped into the gravel at the stadium in qualifying earlier on in the day. Ivan Ekelchik under pressure there, looking at the Porsche, because right behind him is Marc de Fulgencio as he comes up now to the Sachs Curva, but de Fulgencio not able to go through there. Thought about it. Pressure being applied lower down by Paul Petit. Look in the Audi, former single-seater gun, getting himself onto the tail here of Dakota Dickerson. Up to the end of the lap they come. Still squabbling, still fighting, and it's a fierce fight between them as they go by. So number 67, Paul Petit, third currently within Pro-Am. And as the leaders now accelerate onto lap 5, Greg Gilbert has done the fastest lap of the race, and he's up to 19th overall. Now, don't expect that to be a winning car. It's a Pro-Am car, and they're being given a big squeeze. Berke Besler, and the squeeze came from Sacha Botterman, but the BMW kept on coming, and brave stuff there. Through on the inside line goes Berke Besler. It's got a touring car move, that. But it worked for him, so Besler goes by, and the Turkish driver sets off in pursuit next of Oscar Christensen, and for 25th place. Speed building up to 230 kilometres an hour, 235. Can we get to 240? We can. Not to 250 though, because then it's down through the gears into the hairpin, and up the inside goes Botterman, gets sideways, clips the BMW. Take that! Another touring car style move, but it got the BMW out wide, and the tail-happy Porsche has to drop back, and in fact Botterman has lost another place because there Ivan Jacoba has come through on the inside line. So an unofficial Porsche Sprint Challenge round is going on now. Three of the Caymans getting themselves together. And the BMW, having swatted them aside, hangs on to position, although how much damage Besler's car's going to have picked up, we'll have to wait and see. There's a rather damaged car. That's one of the Alpines. That's Laurent Hergon, who is at the moment the leading AM, or at least he was at the start of the lap, but the damage on the back of the car might suggest that things have changed a little bit. But for the moment, at least, that car is hanging on to class position. Might not hang on to its rear bodywork, but Laurent Hergon at least is ahead. The danger for that now is that the race officials want it in the pits and taped up. Hopefully, it could be less precarious by the pit stop window. The best thing that would happen is if it could just rip itself off. But the longer it hangs on, looking ever more precarious, the more the officials might think we want that in, rather than it fly off into the face of another car. Another driver getting on with the programme, up into 7th place now, is Benjamin Lariche. As this field turns through, there was Lariche going through shot. And a really good drive here by number 32 of Dakota Dickerson, the Porsche that's come for the WNS Motorsport team. The two American drivers, Taylor Hagler doing the second stint, Dakota Dickerson, GT4, very strong in America. So gaining experience of different circuits, although the driver's familiar with the style of GT4 and the cars involved. Kenny Harriman still charging, 6th place he was, and is, I think, up into 5th place now because he's been able to get himself ahead of Victor Weyrich. So the Chevrolet on this lap has gained a spot and is hunting down Jamie Day now for 3rd in silver, 4th place overall. Hendrik Still, of course, the outright race leader from that Pro-Am category. Out over the curb goes Kenny Harriman's 2nd at Monza at the start of the season, but the Chevrolet Camaro, which just the one is represented on the grid. It's always a real crowd pleaser. It sounds great, and on a wet road there's nothing to rival it as the power comes in and it slithers its way past out of corners. So out of turn 17, up towards the line comes Harriman's. Hendrik Still building that gap, 2 seconds he is to the good over Josh Rattigan for Elite Motorsport, Eddie Ives' team that's made a name for itself in Ginetta racing, as well as GB3 single-seaters in the UK before coming into this championship this year. Then third, Alexander Hartwig, Jamie Day fourth. And other big battles going on lower down the order there. Look, Paul Petit coming under attack as he breaks for the hairpin. Right with him is Julien Brichet. So you've got Audi versus Aston Martin together there. And they are 12th and 13th overall. Petit out of Pro-Am, silver for Brichet. But in the overall situation, this is how it looks. Paul Petit just ahead. Paul, somebody else that we've seen racing in GT3 as well as GT4 machinery over the years. Out of the Spitzkehrer. And once more down now towards the approach to turn 7. Really fast part of the circuit, this. Bit of damage on the front of Victor Weyrish's Aston Martin, possibly a legacy of rattling it over the curb, but it's damaged that splitter and might be affecting the pace therefore. Down to the stadium for the 7th time they come. And so Victor Weyrish falling back behind Benjamin Lariche, but if that splitter continues to drag on the ground, continues to affect the pace, then that car's going to get more and more hobbled. You can see the damage almost looking greater as he goes around the lap here. So Victor Weyrish under attack from now Paul Cowpay. He's lost one place to the Audi and losing another place now beckons as that car again runs wide. But you can see it does not look healthy, that at the front, so how long it can last like that before it starts to rip itself into smaller pieces and drop bits around the racetrack, time will tell. Now the lead gap, 2.5 seconds. Hendrick still to Josh Rattigan. Alexander Hartwig still hanging on a third, and Brichet still all over the back of Paul Petit here, looking for a way by, but again, just can't do it. And behind is Antoine Potty, number 8 in the Toyota. Now that's a car that's had 2 outright wins this year, so you'd really anticipate it to be higher up the order. But for the moment, it just can't make the progress that it needs to through the field. Of course, the Supra sharing the same platform as the BMW, so if the BMW is struggling around here, and it seems to be, then you can anticipate the Toyota to be in the same boat, I guess. To the outside line there goes Brichet, but Paul Petit elbows out, fends him off, and then Dennis Bulletov, look in the green Mercedes, gets up the inside of the Toyota, and he's going to go through. The Mercedes has the inside line coming down towards turn 7, but the Supra just able to go through, kicks up all the dirt. Michael Schrei, the BMW, arrives on the scene as well, tries to go around the outside of Bulletov, which he does, but then runs out of real estate up the curb. The road should come to him, he's got the inside for the next corner, but Bulletov fends him off. Round the outside goes that green Mercedes. Dennis Bulletov stays ahead then as they drop now down towards the stadium once again. Michael Schrei doing his best to keep that car in the hunt, but he needs points, desperately needs points. Of course, the significant thing is they're ahead of Besler and Edgar's BMW, which is the main rival in silver, but giving away points to the third-placed silver car in the championship of Benjamin Lariche and Robert Consani. BMW M4, which seems to tower over some of the low-line coupes, comes up towards the line. Hendrick still, by the way, the race leader now 3 seconds clear. Tempting fate in saying this, but this is one of the cleanest GT4 races we've had for a while, because quite often with a number of cars on track, it all becomes a little bit like bedlam. But right now, some really good racing. 10th and 11th together. Dakota Dickerson goes through on the inside there. The American goes ahead of Ivan Ekelchik, who qualified well, but he's falling down the order. Big dive there being made, and contact avoided. Was that Ivan Jacoma? I think it was, getting it wrong, ultimately coming into turn 7. So brave and mercifully contact avoided. Change for second. Hartwig goes ahead of Rattigan at the Spitzkehrer. Through on the inside goes the Porsche, moves ahead of the McLaren. So a bold pass, all right. And that puts Hartwig ahead. Rattigan tries to come back. The Porsche runs wide out over the curb. And then they brake hard, coming now down towards turn 7. Rattigan tries to get the switch back, go up on the inside line, but couldn't do it there. Where's the move going to come from, if at all? Down towards the stadium they come. So Josh Rattigan proved he's got the pace early on by moving up into 2nd place. There's Jamie Day 4th, dropping back a bit. Kenny Herriman still 5th. And then Benjamin Lariche in 6th place. the Sachs curve, that slightly banked curve towards the left-right flick, and then in turn that double apex right, 16 and 17 to the end of the lap, out of which comes now Alexander Hartvig, still being chased hard by Josh Ratican. And as they go by, that's another lap in the book, and Hendrick still leads, 3.4 seconds to the good now. Through turn 1, Denis Bulatov ahead of Etienne Shelly. So good battle this, 14th and 15th places, the Mercedes back ahead of the Supra. And behind them, Michael Schrei in 16th place, desperately needing to get up the order as best he can. Gabriele Piano won't be giving up either in his stint, of that you can be assured. So this battle rages on as the cars sprint up through the Spitzkehre once more. Into the braking zone, and a switch of sides for Antoine Potti. Goes to the inside of Denis Bulatov, but the Mercedes stays ahead as they come through the corner then. Right there with them next in the queue is Michael Schrei in that BMW, and he in turn has got Greg Gilbert not far behind. Toe-to-toe goes the Toyota on the inside, Mercedes on the out. Denis Bulatov will have the line for the next corner, retakes the place, goes back through. 14th is still his, therefore, and Schrei almost buying into this battle, but he's just not quite got that last tenth to be able to get right with them. Number 4 there is Marc de Fulgentia, and he is on the back of the increasingly hobbled Victor Weyrich. That front splitter clearly having an effect as it falls apart, really, around the driver. Victor Weyrich, winner at Paul Ricard. His lap times have been going up and up. His last lap, for example, was a 1:50. Which is about a second and a half off what he was doing as his earlier best. It looks decidedly second-hand, does the front of that car. And it's still got 41 minutes of the race to go. Weyrich into turn 1 then. Still being chased hard by Marc de Fulgencio. And then behind the pair is the very impressive Dakota Dickerson, who's done a really good job here. It was a good qualifying effort by the American driver, and he's racing hard as well, learning about the circuit all the time. Further back there, you've got the Brichet Bulatov-Potti battle, and the only person that's a bit lonely, really, is this man, Hendrick Still, who has been able to build up a bit of a lead. Josh Ratican getting away slightly now from Josh Ratican, just over a second, but Hendrick Still concentrating on his race, his lines, and in a way, his co-driver, trying to give Max Kronberg the best possible chance into stint 2. Out of 7 he comes, now down towards that Mercedes arena, and at the moment the best that Mercedes can cheer for is de Fulgencio in 9th place. So there, number 3 is Benjamin Lariche, and he makes the run down towards the stadium. We are about 5 minutes away from the pit window opening, and that's when you can expect the first real shuffling of the order as some of the teams roll the dice, bring the cars in early, trying to gain track position, and in the case of 1 or 2, put the faster driver in. So Michael Schrei, for example, who is quick, but he's not as quick as Gabriele Piano, might be one of the earlier pit callers. To the end of the lap has gone Hendrick Still, and he clears the line 3.3 seconds ahead of Hartvig. So it's Porsche's 1 and 2, McLaren 3. Josh Ratigan in 3rd place, ahead of Day, and then Herriman's here being caught by Benjamin Lariche. 4/10 of a second, just under half a second between them as they came over the line. So 4th, 5th, 6th and 7th, in fact, Paul Calpe at the back of this little group. There is Calpe. He'll give way to Simon Thurman when we get to the pit window, which is not that far away, in fact. Now there is the Alpine in 7th spot. Victor Weyrich a rather distant 8th in his battle-scarred Aston Martin. Side by side here on the outside line is Berke Besler, and Bailey Voisin in the Aston tries to get the run up the inside for GPA Racing, but he can't quite do it. And right with the pair there, look, number 44 Porsche of Oscar Christensen. So 14th and 15th in silver, but as fierce a fight as anywhere on the racetrack right now. Down towards the hairpin they come. brake hard, turn into the corner. And Berke Besler stays ahead to the outside line, goes Oscar Christensen. At the back of that little battle pack as well, it's Kevin Jimenez in the Aston and Stefan Bostengiv in his Porsche. So a lot going on, but Berke Besler may not have the outright pace to get up with the leaders, but at least he can repel this really fierce gaggle of cars behind him. Up the inside goes Christensen, and off the road altogether in avoidance goes Bostengiv. Gets back onto the circuit, but that was all a little bit untidy as he ran wider and wider and wider into the corner and onto the grass. Got away with it, survived it. Falls back in the order, but doesn't pick up any damage. Now, is this lead gap coming down? Alexander Hartwig in second place is pushing, that's for sure. And yes, down by 0.3 of a second. 3.3 becomes 3. So the margin does indeed diminish. And Benjamin Lariche look has cleared Kenny Herreman, so he's up into 5th place in the Audi. Once again up towards turn 2. So Herreman's ahead of Calpe. You could not have two greater contrasting GT4 cars, I wouldn't have thought. The Camaro and the Alpine. The Chevrolet ahead of the little French car, and the grunt and go of the V8 Racing entry ahead of the smaller engine turbocharged Alpine, and it's where the horsepower works now to get Herreman's further ahead. But then through the twiddly bits, the Alpine comes into its own. Benjamin Lariche closing right up onto the tail of Jamie Day here as they break for the Spitzkehrer. And again, down towards the stadium they will come. A big look and a big dive from Lariche, and he goes through, but brakes late and runs wide. But Jamie Day couldn't quite slow his car down in time to get the undercut, so it leaves him open now to the attack from Kenny Herreman. But that was a brave effort by Benjamin Lariche, very experienced GT4 Audi racer, and that experience put to good use. Dive bombed the Aston of Jamie Day somewhat, but it did work for him, and instantly is able to start to edge away by 2 or 3 lengths even before the end of the lap. Calpe to the Sachs Curva, looks for a way past the Chevrolet. No can do. So there is the fight, and you can see again through these tight, slower corners, the little Alpine gets right onto the back of the Chevrolet. But now the frustration will come because it's the power part of the circuit coming up, and Calpe is going to watch that Chevrolet drive away in a straight line. Straight away that margin widens as they come past the pits. We are a minute and a little away from the pit window opening now. It's a minute, so depending on your track position, you could make your pit stop at the end of this lap, and I reckon that Schrei will be in for Piana, for example, but we'll see whether Hendrik Still, for example, does a much longer stint in number 30 Porsche on the basis that he is the quicker of the two drivers, and that might be the same situation for 1 or 2 more up and down the order. So Benjamin Lariche up to the hairpin, turns now through the Spitzkehrer. As he comes through, being chased by Jamie Day, but actually Lariche is starting to think about Josh Rattigan in 3rd place, because that McLaren is going to be the next target. There's also the pit stops imminent, and we are about to have that pit window open. So it will be open for the leader, indeed, at the end of this lap, if Hendrik still chooses to come in. I doubt that he will, truthfully, but it will be open. There are lots and lots and lots of track limit warnings, largely at turn 1 over the course of the first stint of the race. So, as ever, the race officials having to be on their toes to make sure that people are doing what they should be and not exceeding track limits. The first 2 cars are going to stay out for 1 more lap by the look of it as they come by. So I'm looking to see if anybody bails for the pits. It's not Lariche, it's not Day, it's not Herreman's, it's not Calpe. That's the leading group sorted out as they come by. There's Calpe through, and then we wait for Genthio to come through, but Victor Weyrich does come in, as does Ivan Ekelchik, and as predicted, Michael Schrei is in. So also is Antoine Potti. Disappointing run, really, for the Toyota in this race, sad to say. So the pit lane is open and the pit lane is starting to get busy. There is Weyrich. What can they do, if anything? It's just going to be sticky tape, I think, for the splitter to try and hold it up so it doesn't keep dropping on the ground and dragging. That try to give way to Piana, championship leaders in silver. So as the driver change goes on, tank tape aplenty underneath, pull it up, strap it to the bonnet and put lots on and make it taut so that that doesn't drop down again over the remainder of the race. Where would motor racing teams be without sticky tape? Most important part of the pit stop is they 2 rolls of tank tape and the mechanics trying to piece the car together. Of course, there's a regulation pit stop time, so they've got the luxury of being able to do that. 72 seconds is the pit stop time as you look there at the Josh Ratigan third placed McLaren. That's the hard charging Audi in fourth of Benjamin Lariche, victorious at Monza in the first race of the year. Fight on here as Nikolai Moller-Madsen dives up the inside, fresh into number 94, and goes ahead of the Aston Martin, which is now Villagomez at the wheel of it. So with all the tank tape holding it in place, the bodywork is there, the splitter is there, but it's no longer where it was. It's fallen back a position, the Aston Martin. And Nikolai Moller-Madsen, years ago for Phoenix, was the champion in silver in Audi days. We know he's quick, and Jamie Day comes into the pit lane now in the Aston Martin to give way for Mirage Racing to Ruben Del Sart. So the British team cycles through. Greg Gilbert is in as well quite early to give way to Christophe Amon, but you could argue that's a good idea to give him the mileage, and he's the bill payer as well. Oscar Christensen comes in. So there are battles in the pits, battles on track 36 there is the Alpine of Antoine Leclerc and Jean-Bernard Bouvet. Car accelerating now down towards turn 7. So pit stops all cycling through, at the end of which we'll have a better handle on the race order. Porsche, Alpine, Aston Martin, Mercedes, McLaren, BMW, and then Audi. There in one snapshot, the variety that's on track in the GT4 European Series. And the McLaren drops down now into the stadium. Eddie Ives' Elite Motorsport team operating this car for Josh Ratigan. The sister car a little bit further down the order. Tom Leben, new to the championship, new to the car indeed, starts, but is in 30th place. Mileage gained as up towards the line comes Hendrik Still, ahead in turn of Alexander Hartwig, who is clear of Josh Ratigan. And they're all staying out, as is Benjamin Lariche. So where's the next of the leaders? There, Kenny Heremans and Paul Calpe from 5th and 6th down the pit lane. The Chevrolet and the Alpine, they've been racing together on track. They're coming into the pits together. And that will bring Marc de Fulgencio up past them in his Mercedes now. So down pit road they come. And there the Chevrolet stops. Heremans will give way to Dante Raponge. Now this is going to be really interesting because Raponge is on pole for tomorrow's race. So we know he and that car have good pace, and it's been there or thereabouts in the mix. Nikolai Moller-Madsen is a very rapid driver as well. He's at the sharp end of the grid for race 2. So number 94 Porsche will be another car to keep an eye on as the second stint cycles through. And this is the best of those that has made a pit stop. So Ivan Ekelchik bringing the car in early to give way to Nikolai Moller-Madsen, who is, as ever, on the limit. Number 24, by the way, is on its last warning for track limits, Julien Brichet. Right, Heremans about to go, or sorry, Raponge now about to go. And as that car leaves, others will arrive in the pit lane. But Nikolai Moller-Madsen being given a really good chance here. He is not the leading stopper, I tell you a lie, because number 5, Ruben Del Sart's going to be ahead of him. And has just gone through. So there is the Porsche that comes over the timing line now. So number 5 is the best of the stoppers, and then behind it's going to be the Chevrolet there, and then third is going to be Moller-Madsen. So you've got Ruben Del Sart ahead of Dante Raponge, and that's the leader into the pit lane. So Hendrik Still comes in. So race battles on track. Leader pits. Alexander Hartwig takes over the lead. Next question is going to be to see where number 30 Porsche rejoins relative to number 5 Aston, currently the best of the stoppers. And Gabriele Piana, in the meantime, has put himself behind the Matteo Villagomez Aston and makes his move on the inside. So we've seen Henrik moving. That is Henrik still. Henrik still giving way now to Max Kronberg. More Porsches for the pits as Dakota Dickerson arrives to give way to Taylor Gamble. So the pit lane continues to be busy. 28 minutes of the race remain. And as you look at Dante Raponge in the Chevrolet coming into the stadium, he's hustling on in pursuit of the traffic up the road. Away goes Kronberg. Released. There was another car coming down the pit lane, but I think any drama was averted. So the Porsche gets going. Taylor Gamble ready to go. That's Dante Raponge coming up towards the line. And actually, Nikolai Moller-Madsen has not really been able to stay in touch with the Day, Raponge, or even Kaupe triumvirate. So the Porsche quite a long way back in comparison. Through it goes, but we've got debris on track. You can see in the background at turn 1. And Alexander Hartwig leads, but has yet to stop in number 22 Porsche. He will give way to Nathan Schaap. And Dante Raponge there presses on. So more for the pit lane, including Josh Rattigan by the look of it in the McLaren, the yellow McLaren, and Benjamin Lariche behind him. There it is, closing right up as he brakes hard at the speed limit line, and that's the leader in as well. So Alexander Hartwig gives way now to Nathan Schaap. Allied Racing that's made its name in GT4, but with GT3 experience as well, and has become another recognised Porsche team in a pretty short space of time. So the stops cycle through. And number 30 now at the wheel of that car is Max Kronberg. That should be, having been leading in the first stint, the best of the stoppers. The last few to make their pit stops now, in fact, coming into the pit lane. Away goes Nathan Schaap. Notionally ahead, but at full speed rather than pit lane speed, there is Max Kronberg, who's going to go back up front through turn 1, clips the curb, launches himself to the apex on the outside, and leads the way, retaining the lead after the stops. There, second, is Nathan Schaap. And then we wait to see what's going to be third, because after the pit stops, it's going to be the McLaren 77 of Tom Ensign. Fourth is the Audi of Robert Consani. And Consani makes his move on the outside line, but he can't find a way through there. Then it's the number 5, Ruben Del Sart, Aston, and Dante Raponge next up. So this, straight out of the pits, is the battle. Tom Emson loses out. Robert Consani goes through at the Spitzkehrer, crowds him a little bit, but here Tom Ensign tries to stand his ground on the inside line up to the Spitzkehrer, breaks as late as he dares, comes back on the inside and retakes the place. Good racing that by Tom Emson. Through he goes, back into third place. Fourth, therefore, is Consani. Fifth is Ruben Del Sart. Sixth is Dante Raponge as they dive down once more through turn 7. Great battle pack here, and fair play to Emson. He lost the place, he fought it back, and Ruben Del Sart goes ahead of Consani on the inside, and now Raponge wants his cut of this as well. Chevrolet sideways out of turn 8. That just impedes the drive down to the stadium, but a very, very good drive being put in here by Tom Emson and also by Ruben Del Sart, both out of Ginetta Junior Racing. But up front, oh, way wide goes Del Sart over the curb, through the gravel. Tiny error, and it's undone all the good work because it drops him behind Simon Thiermann in the Alpine. So damage done to the back. Look, it's done the diffuser at the rear of the car, having rattled over the curb. So now we'll see whether Ruben Del Sart's able to drag that round at the same pace, and indeed whether or not that little bit of diffuser stays underneath. If it falls off completely, then that car's aero is going to be rather affected, to say the very least. So Max Kronberg is leading by 6 seconds from Nathan Schaap. And then this is the fight for third. Emson, Consani, Raponge, Tierman. Delsart down to 7th. In 8th place now is Gogolok. And in 9th and 10th, Mollemadsson from Lucas Meyer. Raponge up the inside, up the curb as well as he tries to dislodge the Audi of Robert Consani to no avail. Now Simon Tierman comes up to have a go at him as they make that run down towards the Spitzkehrer hairpin. Braking hard for the hairpin. Round the outside goes Raponge. Should get the drive off the corner and the Chevrolet to go ahead of the Audi. This is where all of the horses are needed and they play ball for him. So Dante Raponge, pole for tomorrow's race. Round the outside, up into 4th. Excellent effort this. An unsafe release of Gabriele Piana's BMW is noted. That car, by the way, is in 11th position as this battle pack wriggles out of turn 8. But Tom Emson hanging on to 3rd place for Elite Motorsport with the McLaren. Now Dante Raponge 4th, 5th is Consani, in 6th it is Tierman, 7th Ruben Delsart, then in 8th place it is Philippe Gogolok, 9th Nikolai Mollemadsson and 10th Lucas Meyer. So battles still to be resolved here. Out of the Sachs Curve they come once again. And this is the second in silver battle. Nathan Sharp up the road ahead. And of course the frustration for Emson is he can't really go after him while he's having to defend his position like this. So over the line they go. Turn through turn 1. And now the run once again up to turn 2, at which, if you're really brave, you can make a dive, but there Robert Consani going to the middle of the road, more to defend than to attack. So Max Kronberg, the race leader, 6.4 seconds. He is clear of Nathan Sharp. And there, a little bit further back in the queue, that battered Aston Martin of Ruben Delsart, keeping for the moment Philippe Gogolok at bay. Emson versus Raponge. We know that the Chevrolet can go around the outside here, but not against a McLaren it can't. It can against an Audi, but Tom Emson this time around is able to hang on to the position. Still there behind is Consani, and then you've got Simon Tierman in the Alpine. You can see the way though that Delsart's losing ground as Raponge throws it up the inside, deep into the corner, goes wide, and back through goes Emson. Good racecraft, saw him coming, dummied him to make him brake late, and back through on the inside goes Tom Emson. And not only that, he's pulled another length or so. Stacks Raponge into the clutches of Robert Consani, who's on the attack on the inside into the stadium, and they touch and they both get sideways and off they go. Into the gravel goes Raponge, into the gravel goes Consani. Raponge has kept it moving, and he might be able to dig himself out the other side. Yes, he can. And the one that is stuck is Robert Consani, who you could argue was the one that was the catalyst for that anyway, by going up the inside a little bit courageously. So Robert Consani is in the gravel, and I would rather fear, given the proximity of the car to the edge of the road, that an interruption beckons. So, having said it was a very calm race and a good race early on, it has been a good race. Raponge has got damage, although he's rejoined, he's crawling round. Big, big disappointment. That car, I fear, is heading for the pits, and the full course yellow situation is about to be enforced. So a full course yellow in 10 seconds. You can see there the race leader slowing down for the full course yellow. Max Kronberg then. Full course yellow called, as into the pit lane comes Dante Raponge. And with just under 20 minutes to go here at Hockenheim, full course yellow as Robert Consani trudges away. But he was the one on the attack. He went to the inside line, and he wasn't fully alongside. And the net result is that the third place car in the Silver Championship is out of the race, and that's a really good bit of news for Piana and Schrei as the championship leaders. Raponge brings the Chevrolet into the pit lane. Robert Consani sprints through the gravel, which is not that easy, to go and oversee the recovery of the Audi, and then also probably be needed to drive it out of harm's way. But it's job done, I'm afraid, for both cars. So let's have another look. This is where it started. Raponge up the inside of Emson, brake late, got the place, but ran wide. And as he got back onto the road, Consani seized the opportunity and went for the inside line coming down to the stadium. Raponge went defensive. Consani kept on coming, and as they got to the apex, maybe half alongside was the Audi, but a big whack both off into the gravel. But at the other side was Raponge, but clearly with rear damage and stuck fast the Audi. So Raponge, helmet off, pretty aggrieved, as you can imagine. Points at the damage, and that is perhaps going to be looked at by the officials. Right, so full course yellow, and it's going to be a safety car restart, I would propose, given the length of this recovery period. Robert Consani has to go back to the car, puts on his helmet, because once it's out of the gravel, he's going to be needed to drive it away. It's not just a case of drag. So the tractor is there. And Max Kronberg with an advantage at the moment, but that's going to disappear as there you see the contact again. Yeah, from any angle, it's hard, I think, to suggest that it was Raponge's fault. So 6 seconds, the notional lead that Kronberg has, but once we get the, and there it is, safety car on track and safety car procedure, which is imminent, then that lead will completely disappear. Super slow-mo shot of the leading Porsche riding the curbs, coming out of turn 16, and then at the end of 17 it looks like this. Over one of the little steps, drops down, bounces back towards the tarmac. That super slow-mo camera, fantastic shots it's been delivering all day, and more of the same to come over the course of the weekend. Into the pit lane has just come Robert Consani, but let's hear the other side of that from Dante Raponge with Gemma.
Dante, obviously we saw your reaction as you got out of the car. Talk to us.
Yeah, I had a good battle with McLaren, and the Audi was all the way in the back. Then he tried to be side by side with me. I turned in the corner and he just hit me on the rear wheel, so nothing I could do from my point. Such a shame because we had good pace, but it is what it is.
And you spoke to Benjamin afterwards?
And yeah, the team boss from Speedcar came to me, but we still have to speak with Benjamin what happened. Nothing we could do anymore.
Oh, disappointing into the weekend.
Yeah.
So the consolation is that that's the car on pole tomorrow, and there is how it all started. Raponge making that move against Tom Empson. It was, as he said, a good battle with the McLaren. And here, though, the Audi, to be fair to Robert Consani, he got a good run out of turn 9, made that move to the inside, realised it was on, and perhaps by braking, put himself in more jeopardy and tagged the rear corner, turned the Chevrolet around. Anyway, the net result is they're both out of the race, and there is Robert Consani hiding himself in the Dynamic GT garage as he sort of trudges to the back of it, looks for a speedy escape. So we've got 15 minutes to go. Safety car is on track. Gravel is clear, so one more lap I would... It's not so much now getting cars out of gravel, it's getting everyone to catch up because they've been a bit strung out. So I think one more lap behind the safety car, really to allow Tom Empson and the pack behind to catch the Porsches, and then we should be in business. There they are, look, coming over the line. So it's Porsche, McLaren, Alpine, Mercedes, Aston, Porsche, BMW there, 8th Piana, Mercedes 9th, and then Aston Martin in 10th right now. That's the order. So Porsche 22, Nathan Schaap at the wheel of it in 2nd place. So what this gives us is Pro-Am ahead of Silvers in the order. It's been that way all the race, but of course now with the gaps reduced, Max Kronberg, with respect, as a Pro-Am entry, may not be able to repel the silvers. So his target's going to be to stay ahead of the number 20 Mercedes of Lucas Meyer, and then third of the Pro-Ams, 42 Audi of Christoph Amon. Safety car in this lap, so we're going to be back racing this time. Alban Baruti is the leading Am. He comes out of the hairpin and is in 15th place overall. The second Am is the redoubtable Alain Ferte, and the third of the Ams is Florent Grisot. So we'll go racing at the end of this lap, which is going to give us about 12 minutes on the clock. And despite the fact that there's such a big grid, and one tends to think that there's incident aplenty in GT4, and certainly there's always good hard racing. Of the 44 starters, we've only lost 3, and 2 were in that most recent incident, the other one being Pavel Lefterov, who dropped out a few laps ago after being off the road. So we're going to go back racing this time. Can Max Kronberg hang on? It's a real shame for them that this safety car has been required, because they were maintaining the gap, but whether Kronberg can build a gap over Nathan Schupp, we're about to find out. The Porsche's Pro-Am ahead of Silver come into turn 17, and here at the Hockenheim ring we are back racing once more. Over the line goes Max Kronberg, Nathan Schupp on his tail, down towards turn 1 they go, round the outside of Tom Empson, tries to go Paul Calpe, sorry, goes Simon Thurman I should say, in the Alpine. Doesn't work for him. Empson stands his ground. He's got the inside line now, look, coming up towards turn 2. But Simon Thurman breaks as late as he dares. Outside for 2 is the inside for 3. They lean, and the Alpine goes through, and as Empson gets forced out wide, now Philippe Gogolok tries to get up the inside as well. And so Tom Empson on the restart loses a couple of places. Ruben Del Sart's right with him. Nikolai Moller-Madsen is right with him. So unfortunately for Tom Empson, that safety car has really gone against him. Del Sart, despite dragging rear bodywork around, is making progress. Real battle pack up towards the Spitzkehrer with 11 minutes and change on the clock now, and it's Moller-Madsen that goes the widest. Out of the corner, onto the power, down towards turn 7, and then to the Mercedes arena. Lots of dust on the inside where people have clipped the inside of the road and dragged the dust back onto the circuit. Round the outside of the traffic goes number 2 BMW of Gabriele Piana. He's on his toes on this restart, as he knows that he needs to be to salvage points. So that BMW being taken by the scruff of the neck. Challenged by Moller-Madsen on there, Philippe Gogolok, and we're getting 1 or 2 cars penalised for speeding in the pit lane. Moller-Madsen makes his move on the inside, can't go through. Jean-Laurent Navarro is one of those drivers being penalised, and another, well, he's out of the race anyway, Pavel Lefterov. So they don't really matter hugely in the grand scheme of things as the leaders go by. So Kronberg to Schupp, just under half a second now. Tierman is 3rd, 4th is Gogolok, Moller-Madsen 5th, and Gabriele Piana up into 6th, but the unsafe release for that car is going to be looked at after the race. Very wide there goes Victor Weyrich, loses places, up past him goes the Toyota.
43, 10-second time penalty added to the final time for speeding in the pit lane.
So says the race director, Joel Doval, confirming what we just mentioned about time penalties. Victor Weyrich off the road and back on again. The dog-eared Aston looking ever more battle-scarred then by a little moment like that, as there to the inside line tries to go the Alpine. So battles rage, and Philippe Gogolok ahead of Nikolai Moller-Madsen. They come through together, Mercedes AMG versus Porsche. But up front, Max Kronberg, even though it's not a big gap, has been maintaining the lead. And there, Moller-Madsen dives up the inside and goes by takes the place off the Mercedes, and Piana's going to try to get a move made as well. To the outside line, into the Sachs curve he comes, but he can't level with the Mercedes there, so the Mercedes keeps the BMW M4 at bay. Meanwhile, Simon Thurman is right on the back of Nathan Schaap for second, and that means that the leader is getting away, and is that Taylor Gamble who has lost it after a good run? Sorry, Taylor Hagler. It is. So Taylor Hagler, the American driver, after Dakota Dickerson's good first stint, has had a spin. That brings out a yellow, and the leading car, Max Kronberg, is now 1.6 seconds clear of Nathan Schaap. He's building the gap again. On board here with Tom Edgar. This will explain the spinning Porsche. It might even be contact. Let's have a look. Up the inside, and a little bit of a touch, and then a big whack. Oh dear. Yes, T-boning the Porsche there was the BMW as it slewed across the front of Tom Edgar. So that is Taylor Hagler possibly out of the race. Car not yet got going. And the yellow flag in the background still being waved, look. So can that car be moved? Or is it going to need another interruption to the race now with just 7 3/4 minutes to go? So Max Kronberg as a Pro-Am leading the race. Could we get the first Pro-Am outright win of the season here? It's not unheard of in GT4, but increasingly uncommon given just how competitive silver is. And there is the car still stranded. It's sort of off the line, but you wouldn't really want to leave it there for another 7 minutes, I wouldn't have thought. So the hope would be that Taylor Hagler can get it fired up, but it could be that the damage sustained in the two bits of contact are enough to render it immobile. So the race officials will have to make a call here, which is always frustrating when it's towards the end of the race. They want to let drivers fight to the end, but if there's a car in a dangerous place, their hands are a bit tied. Piana out of turn 17, up towards the line. There's the leader, Kronberg, who is being caught again slightly on that lap by Nathan Schaap. Simon Thurman still third, and then in fourth place, Moller Madsen from Gogolok, and Piana in sixth. See the driver's hands on the steering wheel. That's Gabriele Piana at work. You can see him just occasionally twitching left or right, just to wind on the lock or wind it off again. Make sure he's got the optimum line and correct the car should it be bucking over a curb. Slow car in sector 3, which with any luck is going to be the Taylor Hagler Porsche limping back to the pit lane. The road is clear again. So there, Gabriele Piana still with this investigation for a perceived unsafe release over the car. So out of turn 8 they come. Their number 110, Simon Thurman, in the Alpine that he's taken over from Paul Caupe. And having talked about that, the Alain Ferte, Laurent Hergon Alpine that led Am early on has just come into the pit lane with all its rear damage. So a bittersweet race for the Autosport GP LS Group Performance team. But one car going really nicely, there it is, in third spot. That's the leader, so Max Kronberg carrying on the good work of Hendrik Still, and Max Kronberg, although it's not a massive lead, he is preserving an advantage over Nathan Schaap here. Over the line they come, into the last 5 minutes of the race now. And if anything, I would offer you... Oh, red flag has been shown. Red flag suddenly appears on the timing screen. The race is stopped. And a red flag. That will be the end with 4.5 minutes to go. I would have expected. But straight away, look, course vehicles on the circuit. And the race is stopped. So the driver's instantly slow. We've got one car that's pulled off within the stadium, but the race has been stopped and the cars will head to the pit lane. Race will not be resumed, we're told, and the incident has involved a number of cars towards the end of the lap, and so the race stopped and will not be resumed. So the order does give the win overall and in Pro-Am to number 30, Max Kronberg and Hendrik Still, from Nathan Schaap and Alexander Hartwig, who are also class winners, and third overall, Simon Thurman and Paul Kaupe. The third silver, fourth overall, Nikolai Moller-Madsen and Ivan Egelchik. Second in Pro-Am, Greg Gilver and Christophe Amon. Third in Pro-Am, Lucas Meyer and Denis Bulatov. And then in Am, Alban Varuti, the winner for the 7th time, with Julien Piguet. Second of the Ams, Kevin Jimenez and Florent Grisot. And third of the Ams will be Gustavo Xavier and Charles Dawson, number 442 Porsche. So the drivers then heading to Parc Fermé. Race will not be resumed because of an incident involving a number of cars, we understand. And so drivers will just check the result, make sure what I've given you is no different. Yes, it will be, because one of the cars involved was an Am, and it was the Paolo Meloni Max Tresoldi BMW, which will therefore get back its second place in the Am category. So still the win for Varuti and Piguet, Meloni and Tresoldi second, and Jimenez and Grisot dropped to third. Pro-Am unchanged, silver unchanged. So that is a sad way for the race to end, actually, with an incident causing a stoppage. One of the cars that I think was involved did limp as far as the stadium and then pull off, and the driver of that I can see walking away, but it's in the distance, can't from here deduce the livery of that car. But checkered flag shown, and everybody now making their way around to the stadium and then to the pit lane and then to the podium. So it'll be a very happy Max Kronberg and Hendrik Still, no doubt, as the race winners. A class win is one thing, but to win outright is even better, of course, and so they'll be very, very happy with that result. And there, the winning Porsche making its way back to the pit lane. So the results, provisional as they are, of that race, confirming the win for Max Kronberg and Hendrik Still, from Alexander Hartwig and Nathan Schaap, and Paul Kaupe and Simon Thurman. Taking third, fourth gained the way of Marc de Fulgencio and Philippe Gogoluk, ahead of Michael Schrei and Gabriele Piana. That's quite a result given their travails in qualifying. And sixth, Josh Ratican and Tom Empson, ahead of Jamie Day and Ruben Del Sart. And then eighth was Ivan Ekelchik and Nikolai Moller-Madsen, ahead of Greg Gilbert and Christophe Amon, Antoine Potti and Etienne Schelli, rounding out the top 10. A Pro-Am win for Hendrik Still and Max Kronberg, from Gilbert and Amon, and then Bulatov and Meyer, with the winning Ams being Alban Varuti and Julien Piguet. And the winning silvers, Nathan Schaap and Alexander Hartwig. But Hendrik Still is understandably a very happy man indeed. Now, the incident that stopped the race, we understand drivers are okay. There you can see a very happy Hendrik Still, and Max Kronberg also celebrating that victory, as well he might. So we might be able to, once we've heard from the winners, piece together exactly who did what to which and to whom, and get to the bottom of the dramas that stopped the race. But before all of that, the winners await. We heard from Max Kronberg before the race started. Right, so this is coming down towards the Mercedes arena, in the middle of which is the BMW of Paolo Meloni, and he gets up the inside, turns the Audi around. That comes across the road and gets hit hard by the Borusan BMW, that in turn gets hit hard. And here it is from another angle. BMW gets hit by the Aston Martin. Others on the outside of the road with nowhere to go get caught up in it, and it's just a general melee, isn't it, that with everybody going for the same bit of real estate. But the good news is everybody is okay. Max Kronberg and Hendrik Still victorious here, and they're with Gemma.
Hendrix, Max, absolutely brilliant result for you guys. The first Pro-Am win I think we've had in GT4 this year, and your first win in the championship for you guys.
I mean, what a day. This is brilliant. I can't believe it. Pole position, the first pole position. I expected that we can fight for the victory in class, but an overall win, I don't know. I mean, Max, you are the man of the day. It's unbelievable. So thank you very much. What a dream.
It really was a dream. And Max, how hard was it to hold on to that lead? I know that the gap was closing slightly and the pressure was on.
Yeah, so it was tough in the car. It was super hot, and I just saw like the gap. It wasn't closing a lot, but it was closing a little bit. So I was really like fighting in the car, and honestly, I was quite happy when the red flag came. I think even without, we might have managed it, but yeah, I think unbelievable, because I honestly never thought it's possible for us to be like on P1 in this race here.
Well, congratulations to you both. You better believe it, you're winners.
It will be a long night.
Well, they've got another race tomorrow, so they better not celebrate too hard. But you can understand why they want to celebrate. Excellent achievement, that, to win outright. Like I say, a class win is one thing, but an outright victory is very, very special indeed. And so for Max Kronberg and Hendrik Still, victory is theirs. The margin of a second is kind of a phony gap, really, given that the race didn't go its full course. But the fact that Max Kronberg was able to take charge again after the safety car period, impressive indeed. Nathan Schaap and Alexander Hartwig, second overall, but silver class winners.
Alex, Nathan, we'll just let you get your hats on there. Winners' hats, I might add.
Yeah.
Class win. Did you believe that was possible?
Oh, to be fair, I am completely shocked. I have been shaking the last half an hour. When I was driving, it was fine. I was so focused, trying to hand over the best tires and the best car for Nathan, and to be fair, I was really scared, because everything was so hectic with the red flag and the full course yellow safety car, everything. But yeah, it worked out.
It did. You said to me in the beginning, if you weren't in pole when you took over the car, or you weren't leading your class when you took over, you'd make sure you were.
Yeah, well, when he gave me the car back, we were, so that made it easier for me. So yeah, we're definitely happy. I think we can now say.
Do you think you could have taken the overall with those extra couple of laps potentially?
I'm not sure, because he was quite quick, but yeah, it's hard to say. But no, I think they were quite quick and they did a good job, so we have to see tomorrow what to improve to get overall win.
Absolutely. Well done, guys. More tomorrow.
Yeah.
So silver victors, Nathan Schaap and Alexander Hartwig. And second overall, good result in itself, but a category win. So points, maximum points, therefore, within the championship. So the podium awaits, the drivers having been rounded up in Parc Fermé, then will make their way up the steps to the podium. They race again tomorrow morning. So thankfully, I was going to suggest earlier, there weren't that many cars with work needed, but now there are quite a few, a legacy of that last lap drama that we've just been witnessing. So they're the drivers from Parc Fermé, head up the steps. And just one more event, of course, within the championship for the titles to be decided. And this is AM champion-elect, really. Alban Marouti, so dominant as he been, with yet another victory. But there's just no stopping him. That is 7 out of 9 now for Alban Marouti. And with Julien Piguet sharing with him, another excellent drive. So Hendrik Still and Max Kronberg, the winners, from Nathan Schaap and Alexander Hartwig. And then in third place, the Alpine drivers Simon Thurman and Paul Kaupe. as we've been saying, Pro-Am win also for Henrik Still and for Max Kronberg, and another AM victory for Piquet and Varuti. Let's look at the highlights of that race, and there were many, especially for Henrik Still and Max Kronberg. Henrik Still led away, demon start on the run down towards the first corner, and he put the car ahead of, initially, the McLaren, Josh Rattigan at the wheel of it. Alexander Hartvig fell to third, but soon started plotting how he could make his way back into contention as the cars accelerated up towards turn 2. While in fourth place there was Jamie Day, and we had Victor Weyrich on his outside in the Aston Martin. Battle on for second. Hartvig made a big dive up the inside going into the Spitzkehrer, and it worked. Through he went. Second place was his, but then the gap stabilised. He wasn't really able to do anything about the overall race leader as battles raged lower down, including the hard-charging Horschmann Lariche, who moved his way through on the inside of Jamie Day. And Kenny Harriman's trying to buy into it as well. Pit stops all cycled through, and a good stop being made by Porsche 22, as then it started to get a bit leery. Dante Raponge up past Tom Empson, ran wide, and that gave Robert Consigny the chance to strike. He was the opportunist, and as the Chevrolet ran wide, he made a move on the inside line coming down towards the stadium. But contact was the result. That brought out the safety car, and a subsequent accident brought out the red flag, confirming the win for Max Kronberg and Henrik Still. So the drivers await instruction to step forward onto the podium. Drivers on the podium await instruction for the podium order. I think we're good to go. We've got everybody there.
You're ready?
We are ready. So the SRO officials working hard to make sure that everybody's where they need to be, and that the feed is ready. And the circuit commentator ready to call the drivers forward. Carolina Zima, the championship coordinator, making sure she's got the right drivers. And so then Pro-Am is going to be first. And out first will come Denis Bulatov and Lucas Meyer, drivers of the number 20 Mercedes, for third in Pro-Am. Then second in Pro-Am, Christophe Amon and somewhere Greg Gill there. We've lost Greg, but he definitely started. And then the winners of Pro-Am and the race winners overall are Max Kronberg and Henrik Still. And for the WNS Motorsport team, the German national anthem. Henrik Still very, very happy indeed. As you can imagine, Henrik Still and Max Kronberg, the winners outright, the winners of Pro-Am. The trophies go to Denis Bulatov and Lucas Meyer for third within Pro-Am for the East Side Motorsport team, Christophe Amon and the somewhat invisible Greg Gilvet. Not quite sure where Greg is, but he pitted earlier. I think he's all right. Peter Koren of Pirelli hands over the trophies. And then there will be the winners' trophies, the Hockenheim circuit map shaped within. Max Kronberg and Henrik Still victorious on home soil for the team, and for the German drivers, very happy indeed. Henrik Still and Max Kronberg come out on top. Champagne awaits. Some Scarpa, like Christophe Amon, and others get in the swing of it. Lucas Meyer enjoys all of this, and Henrik Still and Max Kronberg are not going to pass up the opportunity, are they? Already some of those damaged cars being retrieved and brought back into the paddock, and the teams assess the damage and realise that the pub isn't an option tonight. But on the podium, it's a happy set of drivers. In Pro-Am, though, Greg Gilbert and Christophe Amon well clear of Antoine Leclerc, but that win brings Henrik Still and Max Kronberg up to third, ahead of Loic Villager, then Markus Lundstrass and Lorenz Stegman, ahead of two more scorers, Denis Bulatov and Lucas Meyer. So more podiums, more points, and in Am and Silver, the drivers await their trophies. There's Alban Varuti. And first up will be the Silvers, where now why has 94 been dropped down the results, he asks himself. Nikolai Moller-Madsen has been given a penalty of some description, and so that means that up into third place in Silver has come Marc de Fulgencio and Philippe Gogolok, who are on the podium. Second remains Simon Thurman and Paul Kaupe, and the silver winners are Alex Hartvig and Nathan Sharp, but a penalty for Moller-Madsen and Egelchik. Once more, Peter Corran from Pirelli will step forward with the splendid trophies. And their surprise third finishers in the end. Marc de Fulgencio and Philippe Gogolok receive the trophies. Again, two young guns in GT4 racing. Then for second, the French drivers Simon Thurman and Paul Kaupe. A shuffle of the results because a 5-second penalty has been given to number 94 Porsche for track limit abuses. And then for the winning team and the winning drivers for the Allied Motorsport team, silver success for Nathan Sharp and for Alex Hartvig. Photographs done, champagne ready, and again some Scarpa, but Nathan Sharp and Alex Hartvig are ready to celebrate in style, and anybody that's there gets a soaking. Paul Kaupe and Simon Thurman return, and Allied Racing celebrates in time-honoured fashion. So victory for Nathan Sharp and Alexander Hartvig in silver. But Gabriele Piana and Michael Schrei, barring whatever this investigation for an unsafe release throws up, are still the class leaders. Becky Bessler and Tom Edgar still second, and Benjamin Lariche and Robert Constany third because they didn't score. Etienne Chalier and Antoine Potty next, ahead of Marc de Fulgencio. Then sixth equal Alexander Hartvig and Nathan Sharp. So that leaves us with the AM podium still to come. And the drivers are already heading into position. So third place in AM to Kevin Jimenez and Florent Grisod. To the second place drivers, despite getting involved in the accident at the very end, Paolo and Davide Meloni. And there are the winners, Julien Piguet and Alban Varuti. And for Alban Varuti, that is win number 7 of the season. Quick word about the Melonis, Davide and his father Paolo. Davide Meloni had his first outing in the championship at Misano, came away with a win with Max Tresoli, so now partnering with Dad and takes another win. So clearly he's a lucky omen. So a very proud father of Paolo Meloni. And although they've got a damaged car, being involved in that accident at the end, they're at least on the podium and all smiles. So even if they can't race tomorrow, they can celebrate today. So the trophies to the winners, to Julien Piguet, and for the 7th time this year, Alban Varuti, the dominant driver in AM in the GT4 European Series. The last spray of the champagne awaits, and Alban Varuti is as good as the champion, so far ahead of the only person that can get near him is his co-driver anyway, Julien Piguet. So Kevin Jimenez and Florent Grisot next, ahead of Alain Ferté and Laurent Hergon, Nicky Leutweiler and Ivan Jacobin next. Tomorrow's race is the morning race. Doesn't help the teams repair the cars, but they'll be on track at 11:20. And we look forward to another great race tomorrow. But for now, thanks for your company. From Gemma Scott in the pit lane and David Addison trackside, it's goodbye.